Host Stacey J. Dempsey, and like always, thankfully, we have one of the other daughters and the one and only dad. Good morning and good afternoon to the both of you.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
And good morning and good afternoon to all of our viewers and our listeners. We are so very grateful that you guys have decided to tune in with us today. And today we got a 2-for-1 special for you. How about it? I think this might be the first time in the history of our podcast. Maybe Janet? Shout out to our producer Janet. She's shaking her head yes with a thumbs up. So tune in because we got a 2-for-1 special here. First, let's start out with we're all in, we're in summer. We've hit the halfway mark of the year. And, how is business going? We need to do a check-in. Business might be doing great, but we don't know until we start looking at some things, planning what the next, 5 to 6 months is going to look like. And as we've talked about before on the podcast, the end of the year is typically not the best time to try to reevaluate how our year has been, because as quickly as December 31st comes, is just as quickly as January 1st arrives, and we are often running to the very next year, and it's always a whirlwind. So Jennifer, Dad, why don't you just remind our listeners and our viewers just a couple of things of what is best to do this time of year, just to have a good check-in for your business.
Go ahead,
Let
Dad.
me
You
go
start.
first.
No,
Yeah, I'll. It goes back to the saying that you know, are you continually working in your business or working on your business? And the challenge we face as business owners, as entrepreneurs, is that we can quickly, get, just always caught up in the day to day, always caught up in working in the business, and not spending the necessary time working on the business. And so, you know, making sure that right now, this time of year, we just finished up 6 months, 6 calendar months. And so, where you at? What's your numbers look like? Are you on pace for your revenue goals? Are you, how's your expenses going? In terms of, are you hitting? Is there any areas that you're, seeing expenses more than what you budgeted for? Is there adjustments that can be made? Employees and kind of where they're at, and is there a need for any of 6-month evaluations from that standpoint? So just stepping away and getting the right information to be able to analyze that, so that if you need to make a mid-course adjustment, you're doing it based on what the data is telling you, so to speak, and maybe not just what your gut's telling you. Even though after you're in business for yourself for a while, your gut's a pretty good indicator of something needing an adjustment. So, but it's just critical that you do that. And I have a meeting coming up, I think, the next week or so, with the CPA, looking at the numbers, because again, you just run, and, you might be feeling like, business is slow, or income's down, or expenses are up, but, really analyzing it is what you need to be doing at this point.
yeah, I think it just depends on your method. I know that we shared before on kind of, the different methods that we have personally. Obviously, when you're looking at things month to month, tracking kind of your expenses, tracking what's coming in, what's going out. This 6-month mark is a good time, like Dad said, to pull out of your business and really take a look at what happened the first half of the year. And, in the beginning of the year, I like to have an overall plan for the full year, but we know life happens and things change. So My second half of the year is going to change here a little bit. So there's different things that I really need to focus on to get into place. I knew that this year we were going to renew our lease. So we have been able to successfully come to an agreement with the landlord, and that was just signed this past week. So now it's kind of, the budget kind of changes mid-year, and things start to look a little bit different. So just making sure that we are on top of all of that. It's funny, when you're in business for so long, you normally know your trends. And I don't know what's happening, guys, but like, there's been a lot of phone calls of people wanting me to do their hair. And so typically this is a slower time of the year. It's been really busy. My plate is really full. So things do tend to get away from us when it comes to that. So sometimes we have to say no to a few things so we can really have a chance to take a step back, to do some other things when it comes to the business. And I know, me working with an accountant is one of my top priorities. We communicate month to month, but there's been a lot of changes even with the way that we do sales tax in New Jersey now. So that kind of needed attention, some more of my time towards that. So again, just being able to step back and make sure that everything is on track, especially for our taxes halfway through the year, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to owe a bunch of taxes at the end of the year. So making sure that we got all of that wrapped up would be a good time to do that.
And that's a good point, because one of the when you hear about people getting into income tax trouble, and I read this somewhere, and I don't remember the statistic, but it was high. The vast majority of them are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And the reason being is they didn't do quarterly checks or mid-year checks. And then they get to the end of the year, and early the following year, when all the numbers, and all of a sudden the accountant's like, "Ooh, you had a really good year."
Right.
And so here's the check you need to write. Because the challenge is, if we're not monitoring that, we didn't understand what that tax bill could be. We may have deployed, investments either back into the business or back into our lifestyle, and now you're sitting there like, wow, I don't have that money because I just thought I was flush. And so I decided to expand in the business and make this investment, or expand in my personal life. And so, next thing you know, you're working a payment plan out with the IRS, to pay those taxes. So that's really a critical piece of that, the need for, planning mid-year, and even quarterly for that matter, when it comes to taxes.
Yes, and so this is just my verbiage. This is not any type of verbiage that certainly Dad has ever said, or you probably read in a textbook. But the IRS on taxes are thugs. They want their money. Okay, I paid my quarterly 3 days late. Not that I didn't pay him. They sent me a interest. They sent me a bill for interest for $6.34, and I said, if that is any indication. They don't mess around. Here you go. I'm gonna send you a full $7. I'm good. I just please don't contact me about this anymore. I'll make sure I'm on it better. But anyway, yes, now's the time to talk with your accountant, scheduling time with your insurance person. If you need to meet with a lawyer this year, if you need to reevaluate any agreements, Jennifer talked about, renewing her lease, like even if it's just right now, just scheduling those appointments, because just like I said, the end of the year gets very busy in your business, it gets busy for everybody else. And, so it's a good time of year to say, let me carve out this time, even if it's in September or October, let me carve it out now, get it in everybody's schedule. And then, like Dad and Jennifer saying, what are the trends here? Let's make sure our gut is leading us the right way. Have things changed because of laws, or just certain things going on? Any changes in in your business. I know there's lots of changes going on right now in the insurance industry, and making sure we all have a handle on that, because man, end of year, we think it's a long ways off, and up, next thing you know, it's January 5th, and everybody's like, it's a new year, and we're back at zero. It's time to start all over. And you're like, I still got to wrap up. I still got to wrap
Well,
things up from
Stacy,
last year.
you make a good point around insurance, because the other thing that can get, and it doesn't, your insurance doesn't always coincide with your calendar year, but maybe, just as that part of that checkup, because for business owners, much of their business insurance is payroll driven,
Right.
so like workers' compensation, even certain liability coverages are not based on, the receipts of your business, they're based on payroll. So if your business has been growing, and you've been adding employees, you may want to check, because those policies are audited at the end of the policy term. And, if all of a sudden your payroll went way up and you didn't make an adjustment, well, they're sending you a bill, basically for the year before, plus they're adjusting your new bill because the higher payroll. And again, those can be big financial surprises to your business, if you're not careful. So another area, especially have a business where, the employees are, what they would deem to be a higher risk. So your rates are much higher because of that. So another reason just not to be surprised when it comes to, on the financial side.
That's right. That's right. So good reminder. Let's get those things scheduled now, while we're kind of in, at least from some, a little bit of a slower time. People are taking a little bit easier right now, trying to enjoy the summertime, and whatnot. So, but summer will come quickly to an end. I know I'm already getting notices about get your kids school supplies. So
Another
there we go.
point too, another point, Stacy, before we leave this topic, is even if you're if you're having a good year at the 6 month mark, and your personal income is going to reflect, yes, there's tax implications, but there's also maybe adjustments you can make in your retirement contributions. Maybe you can up that in the second half, so you can spread that out over 5 or 6 months, rather than getting to tax time or getting to the end of the year and your accountant saying, oh, you really had a good year, you should throw, a big chunk of money in your retirement plan. But yet, you put that money other places. And so, another area that you should be looking at, because you could maybe increase your monthly contributions to your retirement, to hit that number by the end of the year, which is a little softer blow financially. So again, that would be another check-in to look at, on the personal side. And then as
Right.
far as your employees, again, maybe some people like to do pretty, because the times of kind of that annual evaluation is kind of going by the wayside. It really is it's an ineffective way to evaluate employees, just waiting a whole year, so trying to maybe look at any evaluations on the employees at the 6 month mark, can be beneficial, if there needs to be, some kind of adjustment there too, in terms of performance, in terms of compensation, and make sure that, you're addressing that, not at the end of the year when everything, like you indicated at the beginning, everything seems to kind of be rushing in, and now you're making, pretty significant decisions with your employees, under the pressure of year end.
Right. Right. Speaking of that, because we have our whole reevaluation today, for our business, doing it in July and not December 20th, because our minds are a little bit little bit easier in July than at the end of the year when it's push, 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 go, 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 enjoy your holiday, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, good reminder from the both of you. So thank you guys for that. So Jennifer has some, well, certainly Dad and myself and the rest of our family are incredibly proud of Jennifer, but she is coming up on celebrating and holding her 10th annual book bag fundraiser. So congratulations on that, Jennifer. Huge, huge accomplishment. Certainly anybody that has done any type of charity work, fundraising, doing a fundraising event, to have a consistency of doing it for 10 years alone is just very impressive and shows a lot of commitment. But Jennifer, this started out as just trying to get a couple book bags together, right? I want you to tell the story of kind of why you started it, what was, maybe your original thought process on the impact that it could help just not only the community, but like what you felt like your business could give, and kind of maybe what your realizations have come over these past 10 years on what does it look like for business to be a part of charity and to be able to do for charity.
Yeah, so this kind of happened it started at a networking event. And I met a woman named Mary Love, and she had told me, about, we have a local domestic violence shelter in our community, and how these children that are in the shelters will go back to school with a trash bag. And so this was probably 15 years ago at this point. And so that always really hit, that obviously that stuck out to me. And so kind of early on, we tried a few different things, doing a cut-a-thon, raising some money and kind of playing around with it. And so I knew I wanted to be involved. I just didn't necessarily know what was going to really stick. And so we tried a few things. And then when I had opened my own salon, really started the book bag fundraiser. And basically what that means is that we, reach out to our community, to our clients, to our families, to our friends to say, hey, we're collecting book bags, school supplies, really whatever's on your heart to give. We try to make it easy for people because we know that's the way now. So we make an Amazon list. People can shop the list, have it sent to the salon directly. Obviously, I, go out and enjoy buying those things off of what we need. I've built a relationship with the domestic violence shelter over these years. I think you might remember, Dad, maybe our first year at the salon, we actually got invited over to the shelter and we got to meet more people. And then they invited me over to the women's shelter, which obviously is the top secret because people cannot know where this place is. And so just felt very honored to be a part of this, knowing that we were making a difference, learning that kind of teenage kids, especially teenage boys, kind of get left behind. So when I'm out shopping, I typically focus on teenage boys when I'm buying things. And so just learning kind of more about, how, mostly women end up in this position, and really just how we can help. And what I do know, doing hair a long time is that, being able to do someone's hair can really just lift their spirits, put them in a better mood, help make them feel better. So I knew that there was something there. There was a link there. So again, a lot of trial and error over the years, but one thing that really became consistent was, talking to the community through networking, social media, putting it out there, that this was what we were doing. And so for for quite a few years, everything was going to the domestic violence shelter. And so we were able to bless those kids that were in those situations to not go back to school with a trash bag. And so they were able to pick out of the donations what book bag they would like, what color notebooks, instead of just saying, oh, here you go, this is what you have to have. We wanted to give them options. We wanted to make them feel like any other kid going back to school. And so that's really been my focus. Now, over the years, things have changed. And so I remember, maybe focusing just on single moms and inviting single moms into the salon for this. But what I've learned now is that, you don't have to be a single mom to be struggling. And so we have really opened it up. You could have a 2-parent household in 2025, living paycheck to paycheck, really struggling. So we have just opened it up to our community. Of course, I still have a relationship with Domestic Violence Shelter. We love to still give, especially book bags to them, but really to the community that the salon lives in, we want to give back. Last year, we were able to open the salon up to invite people to come in and really pick what they wanted, and that was special and just a really amazing experience. I was able to have my daughter here with me for that. So I love to hear people talk about it because, there was a time, I think, during COVID where I had called Dad and I said, things are so crazy. I don't know what's going on with COVID. I don't think we should do the book bag fundraiser. And Dad was like, that's exactly why you should do it. And so I'm so happy that he kind of forced me to change my mind and really be able to continue with it. Because again, I'm highlighting all the great parts about it, but of course it is still difficult. There's areas that are difficult. And there's been times that I wanted to just stop doing it. But I'm glad that we've been able to make it for 10 years. I mean, 10 years, we've been able to donate thousands of book bags at this point, thousands of school supplies, headphones. I mean, it's just really been a blessing to see how the community comes together. Of course, my family is always so great, sending in so much things. And now that, I don't know, what do we have now? 6 kids, Stace. I can't imagine one of my nieces and nephews going back to school with a trash bag. So it just kind of fuels that why all over again for me. And that's really what pushes us to be able to do it. But it has not been easy. It has come with challenges. But again, I think it's now at this point, this book bag fundraiser is a part of our brand. I want people to know that we're committed, that we do it, that we show up, and we just continue to support the community the best that we can. And this is how we do it.
Well, and I think one of the things that, I think why this fundraiser and this, and honestly, you do other things throughout the year, like, clients will be having things, you'll put together gift baskets of products and, like you will, and also you'll have, people call you or send you emails that are not clients and ask you for product. And you've been able to kind of distinguish where to give, where sometimes it doesn't make sense to give. Not because you don't want to, but I find that there are some businesses that tend to get hit up a lot on for asking for things. A lot of times wineries, hair salons, to put together gift baskets. And, at the end of the day, those things add up. So you have to have some level of being able to distinguish where to give and where it doesn't make a lot of sense. The need might not be as great that, of whatever the, whoever's asking of it. But I think one of the reasons why your fundraiser, particularly for your business, is so great is because you really focus on giving, like doing the fundraiser. We're doing it from this date, it ends this date, and everything's getting to where it needs to go before school starts, right? So it's not necessarily a 12-month commitment of every single month having to advertise and push and it kind of being top of mind. It's we're starting it here, it's ending here. You do a lot of promotion around it. Obviously it's wildly successful. People are looking for it. It's like you said, it's a staple of your business. But then once school starts and all those supplies go out to whoever needs them, there's a kind of a breather. And I think that's really, a good point in that to be able to, your business to be a part of charity doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be committed to something of this magnitude every single month for it to be effective. And I think that's where sometimes businesses get a little nervous that like, I don't know if I can keep this up, doing it, every 3 months or every month and still be running my business and still be all of the things that come along with just life and trying to do things. And so I think just when you're starting to think about, when people are starting to think, I want to be involved, I want to be able to be helpful. What can my business do right now that I feel good about? It's, you don't necessarily do it for promotion, but you want to highlight a cause that obviously you're connected to, which you heard Jennifer's story. There's a connection there. And now that we've got six little kids in our family, it's even more of a connection of like, it fuels that. And so, Dad, I know you were going to lean in on, and obviously in all these years of being in business, our organization has done a lot of somewhat larger things, a lot of little things, but maybe talk about your thought process and kind of over the years trying to distinguish maybe when to give, maybe when it doesn't necessarily fit right, and your thoughts on that.
Well, again, very proud of Jennifer in the 10 years and giving back and just having that mindset, to give back. And certainly I know, Stacy, you have given enormous amount of time, energy, money, to Meals on Wheels over the years. And so basically as dad, I'm just bubbling over in pride that, my kids have a heart, for people that aren't that need help, and need a helping hand. And so again, very very warming to a dad's heart. So very proud of you guys. And I think that in Jennifer's case, what's really nice about the book bag, it's not Jay, Faith, or Jennifer doing the drive. It's they're sponsoring the drive, but she's bringing all of her clients into that, and it's like they have, some ownership, they have some participation. And so it just makes it, that, and again, this isn't the reason Jennifer does it, but it does create like a connective tissue with your clients, because many of them will be able to say, yeah, 10 years, I've been here the whole 10 years, I've donated for 10 years, and there's just a sense of pride, in that. So again, just a great cause and dedication by Jennifer. So and I think it's just good, for a business, to have some kind of culture of giving back. It doesn't have to look like Jennifer's. It doesn't have to look like, Stacy giving, an extraordinary amount of your time, to an organization, even though, that's great. But it's having some kind of culture. I know here, we're always getting something from clients about, hey, can you support my daughter? Can you support my son? Can you support this? And in most cases, we try to do that. We definitely try to, support our clients in some way, in giving to those things. We have our annual Christmas gifts that we have been doing that for, I don't know, quite a few years. It could be more than 10. Good question to ask.
Probably at 20 at least, because
Yeah.
originally you and Dave were doing it, and then the employees got involved, and now at this point, Jack and Dave just say, whatever you guys come together and want to contribute, we'll match it up to a certain number, and then really all of the staff, they run it.
Yeah.
They organize it, run it, do it. So
yeah, and are part of it. And so it's really a way to help families that are, having challenges for whatever reason, especially financial challenges, have a good Christmas, be able to, get gifts for their kids and food for their Christmas dinner. And, and it's just very, again, it's very rewarding to, and sometimes those families will come here and we can be part of, the giving them the stuff. Sometimes, that doesn't play out because of for various reasons, but that's okay. So, again, just that. And I like what you said there too, is that's not that's not a 12-month undertaking. We start that probably, sometime, as soon as fall hits, of, reminding people to give. And now the one thing we don't do is we don't bring our clients into it, which might be a little scary. We might raise so much money, we could, handle multiple families. So maybe we'll think about that. But like I said, it's just a great culture to have of businesses giving back to the community, and creating, again, something that's more than just profit and loss, revenue to your business. Every entrepreneur is trying to provide some value, for people, but being able to give back is just, and you see it on the bigger corporations doing things. And so, as Jen does, as we were saying, if that's something some of our listeners are planning on, think about it as a way you can include your team, and bring them into it, whether it's doing a fundraising walk, or being part of a walk, or being something that you can do as an organization to kind of bring everybody into that culture.
Yeah, that's good. I forgot there's been so many things that we've been able to come together as an office and do over the years in support of, some of our agents, some of, some people in the community. But I think, just the encouragement here is in that if you have a heart that you want to be able to do something, you feel like your business can make a difference. And keep in mind, when Jennifer said the whole, when she was starting to think through 15 years ago ways to kind of give back, she was working for somebody else in their salon. And so I think that was maybe another a whisper of a reason why Jennifer wanted to start her own business, because Jennifer's like, please, I want to be able to do this. And, she had to sell it to someone else. And finally, I just need to be able to do what I want. But I think that, the impact that, your business can have, whether it's bringing your staff, your community together and being helpful, in some way, shape, or form. It can be on a grand scale. It can be on what you might call a simple, more straightforward scale. But if you really want to do it, there are ways, to do it. And we hope that you do it, in some way, shape, or form. So that's our 2-for-1. How about it? I don't know. Can we pull this off again? This is kind of good. I like this. Janet saying, sure. Whatever you guys want to do. Well, I'll send more emails of topics you guys have talked about. Fabulous. Thank you, Janet. But thank you to all our viewers and all of our listeners. We appreciate you guys so very much. Please do your 6-month check-in. Share with us maybe what is trending in your business. We would love to hear that. And also let us know what you plan on doing to maybe give back in your community. We hope that you guys have a wonderful day. We will see you guys in our next episode. Bye-bye.